there, lovely good afternoon and welcome to Camnet TV's Lunchtime Cafe right here at exactly 13 hours. And of course, we do appreciate that you are joining us this particular afternoon to have this conversation and be updated when it comes to the latest in current affairs. You know that you do not want to look further than the Lunchtime Cafe as we bring you nothing but the best. My name is Joe Smarter, and of course we are live on our Facebook page as well. So please search for Camnet TV or television. Then obviously you'll be able to like the page, share it, and be sure to leave us a comment. And please come through and be able to engage with us in this particular conversation, as we are going to be having it with former Member of Parliament, Honorable Gaston Chilimba. We'll be talking about matters that are of national importance, including the movement for multi-party of democracy, the MMD, yes, the custodians of democracy as we know them. So we'll be delving into that much later when he joins me on set. But for now, let's go into our emerging stories. Now, coming through on our emerging stories, Kafue River source under threat, Chief Musaka is unhappy. Now this story reads in brief. Chief Musaka of Mushindano District, Northwestern Province, says foreign nationals have invaded the headwater at the source of the Kafue River, an ecological sensitive zone. Now the traditional leader has since appealed to First Quantum Minerals, FQM, and non-government organizations, NGOs, like Center for Environment Justice, to consider executing a conservation project, as current activities will have long-term effects on the sustainability of the Kafue River. We go on this particular clip. When we come back, we'll still be here and expecting your calls.
This place has been invaded by people coming from a foreign country. You know that country. They are doing Chekobeni. They are doing all sorts of work there. Now, my fear is that if this continues, the Kafue River may dry. The Kafue is the one that is feeding water on the Copper Belt, Southern Province, and other parts of the country. Now, I've tried to appeal several times to certain organizations that come to visit my chiefdom to help us come up with a project. The chiefdom, any corporate entity, those that are capable, like FQM, and also the government. But then these requests are falling on deaf ears, not being answered. So today I would like to take this opportunity to ask FQM to come to our rescue.
No one is going down to check on that land. I found beacons in the forest area, your area, whereby they are giving plots for themselves. So I don't know how you are working. Is it just the name of forest people and not doing the work?
Okay, so that's Chief Musaka there from Mushindano District of Northwestern Province there, giving his expressing his concerns regarding the source of the Kafue River and how, according to him, foreign nationals have invaded the headwater at the source of the Kafue River, an ecological sensitive zone. You can come through and weigh in on this particular matter. What do you think about this particular development observed by a traditional leader, some NGOs and other stakeholders amidst what the country is currently going through, which is 8 hours of load shedding by ZESCO? So please come through and give us your views regarding that. Now, matters of education, we go to Moreta. Now, Moreta, Zambia has observed that some teachers stopped teaching the moment they were confirmed by the Teaching Service Commission of Zambia and have started searching for greener pastures. Now, much has been said by concerned citizens that some schools failed to perform at grade 7, 9, and 12 level due to the poor pupil ratio in most schools countrywide, and yet the government deploys teachers every year. The question we should be asking ourselves is, where are the teachers that the government deploy every year? Has the teacher-pupil ratio improved in the schools? The answer is no. Now, this is coming from a statement issued by Moreto, of course, and we do have a clip regarding this particular development. Let's go on this particular clip. When we come back, we continue updating you in current affairs.
Commission and the government to take staff audit in all government schools. We realize that there are so many teachers that are leaving classrooms to go and form unions in this country, and these unions are actually doing nothing. These teachers have been employed by government to do their work in these schools so that the learners, the children of this country, must be able to be educated. But this is now alarming, where there are 13 unions and they are all rushing to the greener pasture, which is in the name of unionism, depriving the children from learning. This is a very serious issue which the employer must be concerned with. We therefore call upon the government to do staff audit and make sure that everything is in order, and they should check that their human resource, they're intact. Otherwise, they're employing teachers every year, but these teachers are leaving classrooms. This is worrisome. The numbers that are out there in the name of unionism, they're so huge. And what is even disappointing is that even the administrators are involved in this bad wagon of joining unionism when they're supposed to be interpreting government policies. So we call upon all of them to actually take this issue seriously and ensure that we bring this country to order. Otherwise, if left unchecked, I think we are heading nowhere, and the education sector will be in tatters. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the Moreto Executive Director there, Dr. Mbumba, expressing his concern regarding teachers leaving their workstations and going for greener pastures. According to him, once they are confirmed by the Teaching Service Commission of Zambia, they disappear, they leave their workstations, according to his observation. And Moreto obviously is an organization that looks into the plight of teachers and learners, or the warfare of teachers and learners. And obviously Mr. Mbumba there, Dr. Mbumba rather, expressing his concern regarding that development or his observation in the educational sector. Now, we'll be going on our forgotten stories. Then after that, we'll be joined by our guests in our main interview, so that you can be able to know what's happening in the movement for multi-party democracy, the former ruling party, the MMD, and other national matters from the MMD's perspective. Honorable Gaston Chidima will be joining us. But for now, let's go to those stories that you might have forgotten, but they took place this particular day, 18th of March 2022 or 2023 or 2021. Let's go on this next segment. We'll be right back.
Zambia has latterly been battling to resolve the energy blues that has affected the country for a long time now. State Parastatal ZESCO Limited has been battling to satisfy power demands because its system is overwhelmed. However, the company has ventured and is exploring other new projects as part of efforts to cushion the power deficit. And in a bid to resolve the energy crisis in the country, Kafubu Water and Sanitation plans to venture into solar electricity generation. The company has announced plans to develop a floating solar photovoltaic PV system to generate electricity on the newly constructed 125 million M3 capacity Kafulafuta Dam in Masaiti district.
And the facility that we are going to use is the Kafulafuta Dam itself. Why? Because that dam has got design specifications which really suits the production of energy.
The company has since applied for a feasibility study right through Ministry of Energy for the development of a 150 megawatt solar plant.
I must mention that yes, the project is under the feasibility study, but that feasibility study is almost done. We are just packaging the information together, which has got to be sent to the financiers through the Ministry of Water.
The Kafubu Water and Sanitation Company Chief Executive Officer says hundreds of direct and indirect jobs will be created once the entire Kafubu sanitation project, which includes the solar project, takes off.
We expect a lot of jobs to be created among Zambians. So basically, to mention a figure, I expect not less than 8,000, 9,000 new employment codes.
The ministry has since secured funding from the Republic of China and has engaged China Communications Construction Company CCCC as the main contractor for the sanitation improvement project in Ndola, Luansha, Mpongwe and Masaiti districts under the Public-Private Partnership PPP contract. The sanitation project includes the development of a floating solar plant for the generation of power to be evacuated to players in the energy sector. Currently, CEC and ZESCO Limited are high potential off-takers, Mr. Mwaba said.
During his address to Parliament on the progress made in the application of national values and principles on the 11th of March 2022, President Hakainde Hichilema did outline, among other things, the expanded Constituency Development Fund CDF, which now amounts to 25.7 million kwacha, which he said will be used for many projects across the country. He pointed out that the provision of desks, enhancing access to water and sanitation, among other things, will be addressed using CDF, but some members of Parliament have challenged the government to ensure that CDF is timely released so that they can make progress in attending to the needs of their communities. I spoke to Patriotic Front Mandevu constituency Member of Parliament Christopher Shakafuswa.
Are sitting on the floor. So how do we cure that? Is to buy desks, and he's put it rightly that we must source them locally. Again, it remains as a mere pronouncement. We have not seen matching resources, to actualize that pronouncement. So for me, I'm saying we have listened to His Excellency. I think this is the second time in the House. We are yet to see action on the part of the executive, so that we start rolling the program as pronounced by the President.
Chama North constituency PF Member of Parliament Yotam Mutachalo says as long as the money is not made available, everything remains an aspiration.
I hope that the government is going to release the CDF as quickly as possible, because we are almost finishing the first quarter of the year. We haven't received the CDF. So it is our appeal that as quickly as possible, the government must release the CDF so that we can start planning, we can start empowering our young people. Because youth unemployment, if we don't tackle it, I think it will be an explosion.
Meanwhile, Petauke Central Independent Member of Parliament Emmanuel Banda says the people of Petauke are waiting for the results of the expanded CDF.
CDF, as you know, we are very happy first that it was increased from 1.6 to 25.7, but we are not yet received anything. So we have already made plans. Number of issues to be tackled under CDF. So as soon as we receive CDF, we are going to do good number of projects.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Sanitation and good service delivery in hospitals are a very vital component in attaining Sustainable Development Goals 3 and 6. Despite the government's efforts to improve sanitation and health in the country through the construction of hospitals in areas like Chawama, Kanyama, and others, sanitation still remains a huge challenge. And some residents in Kanyama have expressed concern over not just poor sanitation, but also poor service delivery by hospital staff at Kanyama Level 1 Hospital.
Matoileti mulibe manzi makirina nchito chabeba nkala chabeba ngogulisa chabema yes drinki bapitisa mo madondo ma cream donuts mu toilets muli clean surrounding yonse ina doti kuno kwaneti ili na matenda tingankalemo vonse tista chabe kugula kuno.
They have lamented that there is poor sanitation at the hospital, adding that the staff too are incompetent in their line of work. They further state that the hospital staff operate indiscriminately, especially in labor wards.
Services mwanzi nyovuta vonse ukabwela nikugula ukafika chabi paja jiki nshwatenga kudala makoto nunshi watenga kudala.
The residents have since urged the hospital staff to improve on their service delivery in order to ensure that operations at hospitals run smoothly.
Nakondena cheve mwanzi vani wachita manesezi tipemba kwa msitanzireko tufuna kota nzizo baikireko nzeru pano na mankwala niyo shotela tipesika tina ma patients but vili vonse tigula so tipemba kwa government atsanganireko.
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Water metering is important. Not only does it ensure consumers pay only for the water they use, but it is a vital intervention towards controlling the problem of non-revenue water. Water metering is the practice of measuring water use. Water meters measure the volume of water used by residential and commercial building units. However, most households in some communities of Lusaka have remained unmetered for a long time, and over the years, some 40 meters have not been replaced by the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company in areas like Lusaka's Chawama and Kalingaringa compounds. People complaining about paying for the water they do not access is a common cry in Lusaka.
Ngati simunalipile ijabiu simuiziva na kweya chokela ngati simunailipile babwela kuvala kwa mene kulibe manzi.
And those who have meters say they enjoy the value for money.
Being metered, it's fine because normally we regulate, we see how much we use the water. So for those who have fixed, it's not all that good because when you don't have water, then you still pay the same amount the way you pay always. But being metered, it's okay because we've seen it. We are able to control how we use the water.
We spoke to Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company Marketing and Public Relations Manager Shamba Muzungu, who added that metering is an ongoing exercise.
As I speak, we are still installing meters in various areas of Lusaka. It's the policy direction to ensure that we deal with issues of non-revenue water, which has been a big problem for us. We ensure that people are billed accurately using the meters that we are installing.
National Water Supply and Sanitation Council Communications and Public Relations Manager, who observes with concern that the metering coverage ratio has been eroding over the years.
So the metering is important, it's an empowerment tool for the customer. The customer is able to assess and regulate the usage of the water, but then also the service provider on the other end is able to measure what is going out and then also what is being consumed. If it is less, then they know that there is a problem somewhere along the network. So indeed, metering does improve efficiency. It helps the customer to conserve the water. It also impacts on pricing. What price do we need to put on that particular utility or service provider, so that we ensure that the service provider runs efficiently and effectively, but more so for the customers who are to be able to regulate their consumption.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Security was intense Thursday morning at the Ministry of Finance as retirees of 1999 under the happy completion point, where government workers were voluntarily asked to retire, stormed the premise to seek answers as to where their benefits are. For over 22 years, they have continued and have vowed to continue lobbying for their terminal benefit. These retirees are questioning where the 2.5 billion kwacha President Lungu announced last year that government had released to reduce domestic arrears owed to domestic suppliers of goods and services, reduce outstanding arrears to pensions under the Public Service Pension Fund, and retirees who are claimant under the Ministry of Justice has gone.
Why he's holding our money? We have stayed for 22 years without getting our money.
We started fighting
we don't know
for
the
this
problem.
money.
Why?
Me, I was still a young girl. But up to now I've even become old.
And the president gives orders.
The president gave orders to pay them. Our SD here gave orders to pay them. But now we are stuck with the accountant general.
But he is refusing to sign on our behalf. We don't know. That's why we come here.
And Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit DMMU coordinator Chanda Kabwe fortunately found himself trapped in the web of protesters as he attempted to visit the ministry premises.
We are supposed to be heroes. You know how this program started? This program started on the government to reach the hippie completion point. Okay? So there was a setup which was brought for people to volunteer to leave employment. And we were Garrett soldiers who opted to leave for the government to benefit. The government benefited. After benefiting, the government never honored its promise to pay us. Instead, they have been paying us bits by bits, 1 quarter, 2 quarter. Where can you take the 2 quarter? We have been in courts and we have exhausted all the we have a court ruling. Judgment was passed by late Javed Banda. May he so rest in peace. In our favor. But up to now, the Minister of Finance, Minister of Justice, whatever gimmicks they have been playing, they can't pay us. You see, Minister of Justice is Minister of Injustice because they have made us suffer after all this time.
To calm the situation, Mr. Kabwe promised that he will, in the next 3 months, provide the affected retirees with foodstuff, while he promised to deliver the displeasure to the Ministry of Finance on behalf of the protesters. Some protesters, however, were not satisfied with the response given by Mr. Kabwe.
As much as we appreciate the creative arrangements, we are not going to live on those handouts. We want ourselves to also run our own program. We want our money. We want our money.
And after a while, some protesters were later seen walking with Mr. Kabwe to his office, while others remained inside the premise to continue lobbying for their benefit. And an effort to get a comment from Ministry of Finance Accountant General Kennedy Msonda failed, as this reporter was not allowed to enter the premise while his phone went unanswered. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Okay, now those are some of the stories that you, the viewer, might have forgotten from 2022, 2021, 2020, and also 2023. Just in case you forgot those stories, we have brought them back to you to refresh your memory. Now, Kanyama Level 1 Hospital seems to find itself in news. Not so long ago, I think late last year or was it early this year, the Minister of Health did reprimand a health worker from Kanyama at this same Level 1 Hospital, where we picked out our story from the Forgotten Stories, where there was a concern of residents expressing concern regarding how the conditions are at the same healthcare facility, and also how they were being treated and subjected to buy certain medical supplies that are supposed to be readily available in that particular health facility. And we do remember that not so long ago, the Minister of Health, like I said earlier, did reprimand a health worker who allegedly told one of the patients to go and buy drugs from a named chemist or pharmacy when that particular drug or drugs were readily available at the dispensary or pharmacy in that particular health institution, which is Kanyama Level 1 Hospital. So for me and you, the viewers out there, maybe you can come through and help us understand how we can be able to help, or rather understand the situation at Kanyama Level 1 Hospital. What should be done? In the past, patients who are complaining. Now, not so long ago, the Minister of Health did reprimand a certain health worker. Now, moving on, let's go to the issues of power generation. 8-hour load shedding schedule has been put into effect. Now, the question we ask is, we did have a story here talking about solar generation, which would have questioned the power deficit that we are currently experiencing. Now, the question that we would like to ask is, are we then poor implementers, or are we slow when it comes to implementing certain pronouncements, certain plans that we embark on? Are we poor at implementing these particular plans? Please come through and give us your own submission as a viewer out there. And it's good to know that Ismaili Major is tuned in. Komani Manda as well, thank you so much. Oscar Chisenga is tuned in as well, and Chris Mutuna tuned in as well. Shadrik Mukuse tuned in as well. Thank you so much for choosing us amongst many. You can come through and give us your own submission regarding the stories that we have aired to you this particular afternoon, both from the Forgotten Segment stories, the stories that took place on this particular day in history. However, we can never forget the past if we are to move forward, and hence these particular stories still resonate with us even up today, because when you look at the issue that has to do with the solar generation, we are currently experiencing an 8-hour load shedding schedule affected by ZESCO. And of course, what happened to that solar project that was supposed to start generating solar energy so that the electricity deficit that we have might be cushioned? Now, we go on a short break. When we come back, we'll be joined by our guest, Honorable Gaston Chidima. Please do stay tuned.
Hey, join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power back to war.
Hallelujah. And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
Okay, welcome back to Lunchtime Cafe. on Camnet TV, not just another channel. You know the drill. Now I am joined by Honorable Gaston Chilima. Of course, he is an MMD member. Now, for the millennials, those born in 2000, if you do not know what MMD means, it's Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. They pride themselves as the custodians of democracy. Honorable, good to see you and welcome.
Thank you very much, and I would say good afternoon, viewers, and I think the country at large.
Okay, awesome. Honorable, let's get into it. The President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, on Friday, the 15th of March 2024, held a presidential address to Parliament where he updated the nation on the progress made in application of the national values. Now, Honorable, you are privy to this particular parliamentary address, and what were your takeaways from that presidential address?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would say to our listeners that I'm not an expert, but I would want to simplify it in my understanding and see if I can reach out to my colleagues, the youth. You know, as we are youth, we were marching just a while ago.
Okay.
The president meant well to go to Parliament. And in Commonwealth that I'm privy to, there's a lot of respect for Parliament. And it's a voice of the people. So our colleagues that are in Parliament now, in this term that they are there, it's not something that they need to actually take it very, very lightly. Any voice that comes out there, and we are privileged that the president finds time to go and address. Now, let me start by saying, what the president talks about or mentions becomes a policy. And that policy, if the president is guided correctly, there is players like Cabinet, civil service in this case, players like businessmen, and of course economic advisors, because you cannot run away from it.
Okay. And
this comes into how well is the president advised. It's not a lone thing. So when the president was addressing, I was actually listening. There are a lot of pronouncements that have been made.
Okay.
What matters most is how then are they going to be implemented? Because he gave a blueprint, and I would say the president now stays back. The president goes back to the team that he has put in place to supervise what he has given directives to.
Okay.
The players, PSCs, directors of whatever ministry, quasi-governments as well, NAPS and the other quasi-government companies need to take now what are the instructions coming from there. I'll cite one of it, I hope I'm not jumping, that he recently declared a disaster. The pronouncement that the president made before, we should have been told what are the teams that are going to play in order to curb this. I'm mindful of, for instance, water, capturing of water. I said on another forum, I was privileged to take a drive out. Just nearby here, the nearest river is Chongwe.
Okay.
And our people have been crying there over water. But the team that I was, because I was actually involved in doing certain things, I took just an empty bottle. I hope the environment wants to say I was polluting the river. I threw it on the water running, and I asked my colleagues, will that bottle ever come upward? They said no. I said that's the same thing that we're seeing water going. That water is going into the ocean, and in this case, Indian Ocean. So what can we do in order to capture that? So before the president declared a disaster, we were warned. There are players in government ministries that must have talked about what we are actually going through now. We have the teams, I always say special teams. Apparently, I was actually trained under them through National Service. I'm talking about the defense team.
Okay.
If you give instructions 24 hours, we should have been seeing earth-moving equipment to go and possibly maybe dam Chongwe River and capture that water. That water is notified, it's only 35 kilometers. We can pump it from there upstream. And just a few meters away from Chongwe, go and see the maize of our poor farmer. It's dry. Not only that, where is that water coming from? The same Chongwe, I'm giving an example of Chongwe. I'm not talking about Luapula, I'm not talking about Zambezi, I'm talking about Chongwe River. Most of that water is coming from Bombay drainage.
Okay.
So basically we allowed Bombay drainage, which our friends could have corrected, Bombay drainage draining the water from Lusaka into the Indian Ocean. There are very, very few dams that have captured that Bombay. But if it has been like a kilometer or 2 kilometers, we trap that water. Bombay, I think, if I'm not mistaken, must be about 2.5 meters high. Let's capture that water up to 2 meters. Backflow will take us a kilometer. There will be a lot of cubic of water that we can store and supply to the nearby farmers. Now, I'm just giving an example of Chongwe River, but there are so many rivers out there.
Okay.
If you go out, Magoi, very soon, if it's not dry, I haven't been there in the past few weeks, you find it is dry, but we can capture water as we get along. I'm saying this on informed information because I was in the Ministry of Energy and I traveled. One may ask then, why did we do? Plans are there. Now, that was a step. We found our friends that had planned. We started implementing, dams, wells, and all that. Our friends today should have just picked up the document and start implementing it.
So the documents are there?
The documents are there.
The plans are there?
The plans are there.
The roadmap is there?
It is there.
Okay.
So all we need to do is, after the president pronounced, we should have just picked up the document and implemented it.
But Honorable, you have been a cabinet minister before. You have been a member of parliament before. You have had experience in government. Why are we not seeing these things happening? Even when the roadmap is there, the plans are there, the documents are there, outlining what should be done. Why are we not seeing these things happening, Honorable? From your experience.
Let me start, for instance, from local government.
Okay.
We are warned, and everybody says Lusaka is the fast growing cities. What plans have we done? I've said plans are there.
Okay.
I can cite the time when we wanted to demolish Misisi and Chibolia.
Okay.
It's not something that I dreamt. I found the document there.
It was already there.
Which Mr. Sata, then when he was a cabinet minister, started. But we rushed to, including ourselves, I must admit, we rushed to first hearing, I'm sorry to use the word, vuvuzelas, who are not even residents of Chibolia, who are not even thinking how well we are going to improve the living standards of Chibolia. They are the ones now that come up. Our search, we found out the owners of Misisi, for instance, certain buildings there called Midadada, were those that were living in Kabulonga. And even in Kabulonga, you find that they are grandchildren of those that owned it. Yes, we captured them. If I remember very well, I think about 700 who owned. And the government was ready to compensate.
Okay.
That's how Chalala was born. Because then we were taught. And because that time, President Mwanawasa started looking at food security. He said, let it not be less than an hectare of people that we are going to move and compensate those that are going to agree to go with either compensate them with land. And all was set. To cut the story short, we left the document with the people that are going to implement, in this case, Lusaka Council. Now, why am I bringing this? I'm talking about politicking.
Okay.
Certain things we need to politic, but let's look at what are the benefits of the people in a long term. This time around, the way it is, the people that were running in Lusaka City Council were our colleagues who are now in government.
Okay.
It was mostly councillors, they were UPND. And when we gave the council to implement that, by the time we were realizing from central government to supervise what was actually happening, from 700 plots, we had over 3,000 plots. And by the time the ministry could move in and correct it, we had some titles, I mean some plots were already on title.
Okay.
And it became very difficult. I mean, where you have a councillor having 50 plots and before you realize it was sold.
Okay.
So it wasn't even to do with cadres, but to come back with the implementation of what is pronounced, it is also, as I must admit, as politicians, when we go in there, we appear to override the technocrats. And that's a very big disease. Let us listen from the technocrats.
Okay.
We are supervising the ministry. Let's look at the technocrats advising correctly. If you fail at a particular ministry, that's why there is CAB memos. CAB memos are a circulation of what you write up. Colleagues, there is the ABC that's going, which we agreed at cabinet level. This on the ground is not working because the technocrats have done ABCD before you go to even cabinet.
Okay.
But we have seen the laissez-faire where I'm the captain. And then any technocrat cannot listen. And that's why most of these policies have failed.
Okay.
I'm riding from the bottom to the upper where I've said the parliament is the most respected. What is pronounced in parliament and which my colleagues, some of them I know they are new, but I know they are oriented. Any minister that stands out there either in defense of what the backbenchers are asking, and whatever he pronounces there becomes a government assurance.
Okay.
And government assurance has to be followed. Whether this parliament goes off, the next parliament can still come and get a document and say, look, the ministry, notice Chidima was a minister, pronounced this. No, they will say, ministry, there was the ABCD which was not done. What are you doing about it? Some of them, because of turn of time, or rather change of time, they will find that it's absolute. But there are definitely other things. I can give you an example with roads.
Okay.
The roads that our colleagues PF, when we lost the power, came in and started, doing, were a brainchild of Mwanawasa. Unfortunately, we lost him. May he so rest in peace. Then we had the Rupia Banda, equally going to be with the Lord. Rupia Banda followed, and on a lighter note, he would say, change the channel up. Why didn't you stop it when he was there? And we continued. So when President Sata came in, because him was an expert, let me put it that way, and experienced, he simply said, okay, you were calling it, I think we were calling it 400.
Okay.
And he just turned around and said, I'm going to call it 800. You find that it's the same thing, except it was done under PF. And whatever Rupia started, it was just a continuation, which I would have seen our colleagues today pick it up from there. Yes, Lusaka was opened, but have we opened the other districts?
Okay.
If you are in Kabwe, you want to go to Mongo, you have to pass it through Lusaka and go to Mongo. What have we done about Chisamba, Mumbwa Road? Never mind Luansha, Kasempa Road. All these that could have been actually opened. Today, up to now, we are talking about the Chama. Yes, we are always in a blame game. No, you didn't do this. Time passed during our time of MMD. Now they came PF. No, it was MMD. Time passed.
Why is it like that, Honorable?
Well, I'm sorry to say that it's a very bad disease.
Okay.
A very bad disease in the sense that the past is gone, it's water under the bridge. Now you are there. What you need to do is now to perfect it.
Okay.
And this is, I would take it like it's an advice or warning. 2.5 years we have spent talking about the past regimes. What is it that has been done? This, I'm lining it up with what the president has said, as compared to what he said when he last, before this one, when he last addressed Parliament.
Okay.
So now the backbenchers are there, and I'm sure even ordinary Zambians, including myself, we're asking, but the last address the president talked about ABCD. What has been done? So these are checks and balances.
Does it tally, Honorable? I know you've been following his last address to Parliament and this address that he had on Friday. Does it tally? Is there a mismatch, or everything that he said in the last one and in the current one all the same, or they're in line?
I would say no. I would say it one example. I would say one example. Take about, for instance, employment. Yes, kudos to them. They have employed. But they must look at, for instance, the teachers who they have employed. Are they teaching under the trees? They have gone to teach under the schools that were done. So even when we are employing, it must tally now with what about the next people that are going to come in? We must also look at, yes, employ the teachers, but at the same, continue with infrastructure. There's a story, I'm calling it chorus of CDF. When you talk about infrastructure, talk about desks. I'm coming from also as well, Minister of Education. They're talking about CDF is doing this, CDF is doing this. Before I even talk about quality, are we really matching the number that we have taken back into school on free education? Are we really tallying on the numbers that we have employed? Are the teachers accommodated? If they are not accommodated, what hope are we giving to these that we have employed and those that we are going to employ? So infrastructure should not be, it's a continuous thing that the government needs to do.
Okay.
By the way, let me put it this way. What I see, I stand to be corrected. Our friends have forgotten that the running government is running a very big business. The only difference is that the government, you collect the money and provide the service. Basically, you are giving the people back the money. Unlike the government, the business that you're going to say, I'm making profit, and the next moment you are on the pillow and saying, I've got so much money in the bank. It's different from the government.
Okay.
The infrastructure gives you what you can call infrastructure to have a bankable document. Forget about borrowing.
Okay.
In this country, we are lucky we've got minerals dotted around. When I was growing up, by the way, I've worked in the mines. When I was, all we knew, even before I joined the mines, all we knew was copper. I came to learn of gold and emeralds later on.
Okay.
But now we have, I don't know, several. Nickel, amethyst, green tourmaline, and
don't forget Sujilite on her.
Yeah, well, Sujilite now it is actually coming in. Sujilite, I forgot to mention because it has overridden. When we had Sujilite now they became gold. Okay. Now gold, which was actually just in Bank of Zambia and known by a few people, now we have gold that is just flying around, and so all I'm saying is this country is very, very rich.
Okay,
and this is why we are saying. Our friends who are coming in that we still sing on the investors. The investors, if not investors, are coming in to come and make the money in order to go and improve the living standards of where they are coming from. What about it locally? This is where I'm saying we have this. For instance, let me talk about copper.
Okay.
Now we're even saying it has hit about almost, I think, $9,000 per ton.
Okay.
Who are the beneficiaries? This is where now people are supposed to be smiling. We're supposed to have cheap meal. We're supposed to have medicines in the hospitals. We're supposed to have ambulances. We're supposed to have schools. These desks that we are talking about, the free education should be a blanket and not just in government institutions.
Why are we not seeing this, Honorable? Why are we going wrong? Why are we missing it? We have the minerals, we have the human resource, we have technocrats, we have the capacity. Where are we missing it?
You are missing also another point. The capacity, including that of human, I can tell you Zambia has gone out there and they perform the best.
Okay.
It's a question of managing ourselves. I'll bring you back on politically, including myself. We are busy talking about this. I'll still go back 2.5 years if you take stock of what our colleagues have done. We will say nothing, even if they are doing something, but as compared to what we expect them to do.
Okay.
Don't misunderstand me.
Please repeat
what
that
we
one,
expect them to do as compared to what they've done, they haven't even scratched anything.
Just like that.
They are busy, in this case, just talking about the PF. If not, they are talking about individuals. No, arrest this one. All they needed to do is to concentrate. One thing that I learned, the little time that I spent in government, President Mwanawansa in the first term, those that are served under him would agree with me, and those that were following would agree with me. The first term was very crucial. He was not a man that you can approach. First, he will ask you questions, and before we realized, we started running away. But when we realized that this man needs advice, we closed up to him.
Okay.
Second term, on his inauguration, he says, now I know what Zambians want. And he performed. Now, the performance didn't just come from him as an individual. It came from collective ideas.
Okay.
Collective ideas that included opposition. These opposition members of parliament, and some of them are coming in at the time that we were in government, some of them were civil servants, some of them were in NGOs, but I've seen brilliant brains now coming on board. These are the ones that, with due respect to His Excellency President, the Commander-in-Chief, is it 77HH? Needs now, first on his individual capacity, to listen. What is Hamududu talking about? What is Anford Banda talking about? Don't even take away what Tayali is talking about. Sit down and digest.
Okay.
And ask the land ministries. If, for instance, Anford Banda was talking about commerce, follow it. If we can't understand it, we have players, whether you like it or not. There are players like Honorable Sichinga. They're experts. Professor Sasa. And many others. I've always talked about my elder brother, Honorable Hachipuka. He's been a general manager. He served in parliament. He's a seasoned manager. Honorable, a former member of parliament, Honorable Matongo. And a few others. Well, the young man, I'm sorry to say the young man because he's young, as much as he's the president of a political party, Honorable Haiv Hamududu, is an economist. Let's not throw away some of these people.
Okay.
Let's listen to what they are saying. But the problem that is there, when a politician like me is talking, first they look at what is it that he has done. Why didn't he do ABCD? Yes, admittedly, and in fact, this is the beauty of democracy. We were there, certain things we failed to do. If we failed to do, implement them.
Okay.
If we actually did some of them, improve on them. I can even, me even being in MMD, of course I didn't start with President Chiluba, but I can tell you that one major mistake was even on privatization. We didn't do it well. Okay. I'm not pointing a finger, but I'm saying MMD, we didn't do it well. One, being, having worked in the mines, here is a person who said, okay, look after my children, but I want to go away with the pots. Even if you have meal, if you have no pots, where are you going to Fukushima to feed those children? I'm referring to, when we started privatizing, what did the so-called investors do? They first came and told us, including World Bank, you sell the refinery.
Okay.
We sold the refinery. Now, too many people may not know. Again, if there are experts there, let them come and challenge me. Selling the refinery from the mines, it meant that we have lost on gold, we have lost on cobalt, we have lost on nickel. So when you are refining the ore, there are so many minerals that come out of there that you are in control of. And that's why we had the President Kaunda having reserves in the bank. And it continued, yes, with the Chiro, but I'm sure it's the story maybe for another day when we heard of emeralds disappearing from Bank of Zambia and whatnot. Now, emeralds are still there. Have we stopped mining emeralds? We still just talk, it's a song, the best in the world.
Are we then poor managers, Mr. Shiri?
Extremely.
Poor managers?
Yes, very simple. We even destroyed what was prepared for us. At the time I was young. And even for the young people here, if they are not seeing, I'm saying you better see this.
Okay.
President Kaunda did Zanaco. I doubt if we have the only owned the bank right now. The Zanaco was even opened in England. Very simple. Cleverly, we had to know how much was the copper worth, whether it is reducing the price per ton or not, but we knew on everyday basis how much we have sold. Then we were the ones actually even saying, okay, you are buying your own copper, here is your copper, but here is our money.
Okay, how do we cultivate selfless leaders? I know we're beginning to wind up.
Yeah, I mean, we neglected the players like Francis Kaunda. But that we are not long gone. I just mentioned the Honorable Achipuka. The Honorable Achipuka was the general manager at Ndola Line. Ndola Line was part of the mines. Get all these people that are there. My elder brother, General Chinkuli, I salute him. Whatever he went to do there and now is with the mines, that's the man that we need to bring closer. And see, all I'm saying in simple terms, let us go to supervise what are our friends mining. And when they mine, let be the ones to sell.
Now, Honorable, just there, I know...
No, don't cut me short. It's a very simple thing. I'm saying I want to simplify it.
Okay, please, go ahead.
Here is the maize a farmer produces. And we say, go and sell to food reserve. What are we saying? We're capturing the maize. In this case, we need to capture the minerals. And we tell them we are going to sell. What is the price is so much. They bring in their buyers. We get the money. And we tell them, I said, okay, now you can have your money. But they are going to manipulate us. The mines would simply come and tell you we are not making any profit. But who is checking the profit? We have been destroyed. That's what I'm saying. We are bad managers.
Okay.
Yes. On machinery, in terms of engineering goes, I'm coming from that background. We were assembling, we were maintaining, servicing equipment, buying our own equipment in the mines. Now the investors, they come in. When they come in the name of Gaston, they'll go and get a job. And they'll tell you, we have only had this machinery from Joe. We have to pay.
Okay.
When the machines are ready for servicing, they put them on the trucks, dump trucks. They take them maybe to South Africa or indeed anywhere where they are taking them. And they tell you, we are paying such and such a company. Colleagues, let's wake up. That is externalizing of the money. Now, if we are going to allow people to get that machinery to be serviced in South Africa, what about our artisans? Artisans, I'm talking about the mechanics that are able to look after the machine.
Yes.
Are we going to definitely create a job, employment? So the employment we are creating for the outsiders, because we have allowed, we are sleeping. So when they bring in the machinery, let's take stock of them.
Okay. Honorable, still on the mines as we conclude, but I want to touch on the MMD in 1 minute. But as we begin to conclude, Honorable, on the mines, former President Edgar Lungu, in his address to Parliament in 2020, said something. And he said, each time government and the mining conglomerates come on a negotiating table, government's arm is always twisted, or arm twisted. Government is always arm twisted. Your view on this particular revelation from the former head of state, then we go to the MMD under a minute.
Well, the former head of state and the current. For me, if you ask me, and many others that we have discussed this, the current president is the best, if not the guru, that could have taken us out of this.
Okay.
President Edgar Lungu followed the steps of that of Mr. Sata. Time of Mwanawasa, when we realized what I'm talking about, I put it on I mean, I had to put it in writing.
Okay.
We grabbed the mines. Now, if the mines is ours, how then the government could be twisted? Because you're holding on to it.
It's yours.
Yes, when I told them, I said, you can go away with your money. I'll remain with the mines. We grabbed it. When we came with the President Rupia Banda, I don't want to mention names here, some Minister of Finance again played around with it. We lost it at some point. When President Sata came in, grabbed it.
Okay.
All right? President Eddie Galungu grabbed the mines. We have seen the situation again that we seem to be giving away. So it's to and fro. So all I am saying is the government is not supposed to be twisted.
Okay.
The government should be stiff. And the reason why we are being twisted is ignoring one arm of government, which is Parliament. Let me say this, it's not a secret. If you are in government and you are failing to speak, you are backbenchers. That's what I'm saying. Embrace the opposition. The opposition is every reason why we went democratically. Look at the times with I always talk about Cameron Puel. You see, Cameron Puel was an MP for Rwanda. And when he was talking about the mines, people were watching him. So we simply said, why don't you bring in the motion now in Parliament? Cameron Puel put a motion in Parliament. Our friends in UPND supported Cameron Puel. And when that motion passed in, we saw ourselves grabbing the mines. When Parliament speaks, anyone, whether it's World Bank, whatever, you simply say, in an Akangi where your conditions, Parliament has spoken. But we have taken Parliament now, like it's a Cho Chise. Okay? This also comes to just this advice, those that are in Parliament. Colleagues, in Parliament, it's meant to, Paris means talk. Party means speak, and speaking for the people. And when you're speaking for the people, you're equally speaking for the government. Don't sit back there and just go and sleep. Some of us were, I don't know, we had even nicknames in there. And it wasn't easy as compared to our colleagues now. We had eloquent speakers of Garin Kombo, Sylvia Masebo, Matongo, Hachipuka, Luinda, and many others. When they are speaking, when Gary Kombo is speaking on the floor of the house, he has researched. So you as a minister, you must sit back to find answers. You must find answers. Okay? So all I'm saying is, let us use the opposition in order to actually perform. If you don't use the opposition, I can tell you performance will still go to zero. But my, in concluding on to this one, please, my appeal to President HH is let us look at grabbing the mines to be ours. The argument of saying Zambians we have no capacity is zero.
Okay.
Because right now, who are running the mines? It's the Zambians. It's very simple of somebody just bringing in the money there. Are you telling me in Zambia, if you are going to sell the mine at 25 million, are you telling me in Zambia there are no people that can have 1 million each and put in the experts to run the mines? We can run the mines.
Okay. Honorable, unfortunately, we have to go. We've run out of time. But let me thank you more sincerely for coming through and for being with us this particular afternoon, Honorable. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So there you have it, viewers. That was Honorable Gaston Chilima, an MMG member and of course a citizen of this great republic, a former cabinet minister, sharing with us national matters. I have been your host, Joe Smarter is my name. Now on behalf of the entire production team, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye-bye and God bless.